You consider that America suffered almost 21,000 murders in 1989. The number of men and women actually put to death for their crimes is very small. It's tiny, just 16 last year. But precisely because the process is so rare and so profound, the execution of a death row inmate puts tremendous stress on everyone involved, as you'll hear from our studio guests. Before we meet them, I want to show you an extraordinary piece of videotape put together with the advice and cooperation of the Alabama Department of Corrections. We taped this at Holman Prison. It's a maximum security institution in which 4 executions, that's 25% of last year's national total, were carried out in 1989. Take a look.
After we said our last prayer together a few minutes before midnight, we walked down the hall, and I walk in front, much like a pastor would lead a casket to the grave. Sometimes I'll read a scripture, sometimes we'll walk in silence. One time we had a hymn playing. At this point, I stop and either shake hands with the condemned man, or I embrace him, or say a prayer to myself for him. And then he goes into the room, I go into the viewing room.
At this point, there's a team of 12 correctional officers that has a designated task to do, which is to take off the leg shackles, the handcuffs, and prepare the inmate for execution. The inmate is placed into the chair, and the members of this execution team has a designated task to complete. The inmate is strapped into the chair, the leg irons are removed from him, the handcuffs are removed from him, and all the belts are checked and double checked. At that time, when everything seems to be in working order, all the correctional officers leave except 2.
At this time I walk in and read the death warrant to the inmate. Once the death warrant is read to him, I ask him if he has any last statement. The last one was that he held no ill feelings towards me or any of the staff. He stated that he knew God, had found God, and knew God would protect him. At that time, I leave the room, I walk next door, where the commissioner's on the phone with someone in the governor's office. I ask him if there's been any last-minute stays. He advised me that they have not. And I leave this room. I come back into the death chamber. I advise the 2 officers to make the men ready. This includes final preparation of tightening the straps, putting the helmet on, plugging the chair in to the power source. And the last thing, the hood goes over it. At that time, I leave. I come directly from the death chamber after the hood has been placed on. At this time, they're making last-minute preparations of the straps to be sure they're all tight. During that brief period of a few seconds, the equipment is engaged. This lever here is engaged. This one here is engaged, and so is this one. We wait until the last officer's out of the death chamber. At that time, he puts the ready sign in the little window. We wait for him to leave the death chamber and hear the door slam. An officer out here gives us a signal that it's ready. At that time, the switch is thrown. When the master switch is thrown, the amps go up to about 8. Volts go up to approximately 1850. There's 2 surges once the switch is thrown. They're approximately 34 seconds each. They're automatic. After the second one, the machine shuts itself down.